the control decks are a little bit lower in power. There's no just I win the game card to resolve later on like there was with Revelation or Aetherling. I do think that there's a little bit more play to it than there used to be.
Polluted Delta will be sacrificed. Majlaton will go grab a swamp.
I feel before in the Revelation mirror match, it was a lot more about what was your deck setup than what you were actually playing. And now I feel it's a lot more about the plays you're making and less about your deck setup.
And what's interesting here is you see that Alex is going to start off with a Thoughtseize where Kurt opted not to cast one early in the game. So Kurt does have a Thoughtseize of his own, 2 negates, a Pearl Lake Ancient, and a Jace's Ingenuity to go along with a Polluted Delta and an Island. Some interesting cards there in Kurt's hand. You know, makes you wonder, do you want to take the Thoughtseize? Taking one of the negates seems maybe a little redundant, but Pearl Lake Ancient is kind of the red herring there. Might be Kurt's only way to win the game.
It is possible, though Kurt is playing 4 copies of Ashiok and 2 copies of Ugin, so you wonder if those cards showed up in game 1. If so, I think Alex will be loath to take the Pearl Lake Ancient out of his hand, and then something like Negate or Thoughtseize becomes a lot more attractive.
Alex is going to go with the Pearl Lake Ancient, wants to take the big win condition. A Temple of Deceit is the follow-up, and a passing of the turn. An Island, and Kurt will pass. Still not willing to cast Thoughtseize. Wants to use that to clear the way, and Alex says, I will cast a Thoughtseize, and that'll, of course, get a negate. Kurt has 2 of those after all. And now another Thoughtseize. Well, then. Fair enough. I wonder what we're taking with this one.
So what's interesting about this, I like Kurt sitting on the Thoughtseize for a turn where he's either trying to push something through or keep Alex off of something specific. The fact that he didn't Thoughtseize on the first turn of the game means he probably doesn't respect the possibility of grindclock. Because if Alex had a turn 2 grindclock, this game's over. Yeah. I mean, Kurt's hand is not equipped to handle it. So it is interesting insofar as Kurt really didn't register it as a possibility or wasn't willing to pay the cost of an early Thoughtseize to prevent it from happening.
Jace's Ingenuity will bite the dust. Majlaton will gain 2 life via Radiant Fountain, undo some of the work that those Thoughtseizes have done, and pass it back Kurt's way. Kurt will play a Delta and kick it back. Still not willing to Thoughtseize just yet. Did pick up a Dissolve for the draw step. Majlaton will play a Temple of Deceit. Take a look at the top card. We will see where that is headed here momentarily. Looks like it's going to be the bottom card. He will pass the turn back over to Spiess. Polluted Delta number 2. And a pass. Prognostic sinks the draw, and we found our first missed land drop. Kurt hasn't missed one just yet. He'll play a Swamp. And now he's going to play a Thoughtseize. And it's all about the timing with the Thoughtseizes here. Alex says, I'll negate. Kurt, do you have any interest in negating back? No. Kurt just says, well, my Thoughtseize did a nice job there. Got a counterspell.
Yeah, he's not willing to commit any mana to fight over that when he would have to lose his Dissolve shields if he negates back. And that could give Alex the opportunity to resolve something big.
Majlaton will pass the turn back. Still misses a land drop. Kurt's going to sacrifice both his Polluted Deltas here. Looks like on the upkeep. See what lands he wants to grab. It looks like he's going to go with 2 islands. So to make it 3 islands and 2 swamps total, 5 lands out there for Spiess.
I think Kurt is sacrificing now because he only has 6 basics in the deck. So if he draws a Polluted Delta and if he draws one of his basics, at this point he's at risk of a Polluted Delta not being able to find something later on in the game.
Opulent Palace is the land. Majlaton will cast a Dig Through Time. That'll get hit by a negate. Alex will draw. Does have Prognostic Sphinx in hand. You wonder if that's the big haymaker he's trying to set up. There's a Polluted Delta. Also has his Jace's Ingenuity. Makes you wonder which card's more important in the situation.
Well, it's interesting because all 3 of them are really attractive in different ways. So what Alex wants to use as the test spell is interesting.
Grindclock was the test spell. It was hit with a Dissolve. Kurt, a little scry action, pass the turn back. Alex with a Swamp as his draw to go along with the Sphinx and Jace's Ingenuity. You see Kurt's hand, a Dissolve, and a Hero's Downfall. Alex going to sacrifice his Polluted Delta. Get an island. Very important for Kurt in that last turn, not like grindclock resolve.
Yeah, I mean, Kurt's got nothing going. And even the win conditions that he has left in his deck aren't particularly fast. So if that grindclock resolves, I think he's really hard-pressed to win.
Seems though Alex has some interest in playing something on his main phase. Not to say he can't play Jason Ingenuity on his main phase, but perhaps it'll be the Sphinx. He'll play a land. He's just going to pass the turn back. On the upkeep, he's going to play Jason Ingenuity. And a buy to dissolve. Disdainful Stroke will be the draw, and that's pretty timely there.
Yep.
Same thing again. There's a Disdainful Stroke. Let's see what Kurt draws. There's a land, finally. He will play that land. Gain a little life off that Dismal Backwater, and Alex will draw. There's Prognostic Sphinx, with one card left in hand to be able to blink the hero's downfall. You see Kurt's draw that turn was a negate.
Now, his spot removal provides a little bit of help here. But long term, it's going to be very hard for him to answer this Sphinx unless he has kept in some number of Crux of Fate, Perilous Vaults, or his own copies of Prognostic Sphinx.
Block Superstar was Prognostic Sphinx. Had everything working for it at that tournament. 5 toughness, very important. Of course, the text discarding a card gains hexproof until end of turn, and well, Scry 3, that can run away with the game all by itself.
Yeah, I mean, that's ensures that once you resolve it and start attacking, you're probably already a little bit ahead, or at least at parity. And then Scry 3 means you're never going to have a bad draw for the rest of the game, or probably not.
Yeah, seems rather unlikely. Spiess will pass the turn back over to Majlaton. Majlaton will draw a card. It's time to Scry 3 yet again. Sphinx looking to run away with things here. Grindclock among the cards he's looking at. Looks like he's going to keep the clock on top, put the rest to the bottom. 3 damage will come across. Hero's Downfall in hand and among other options. See if any interest in casting another spell here or not. Again, Spiess with a Hero's Downfall and a negate in hand. A lot of cards in the graveyard. There is a Murklurker, so Alex is taking a more aggressive slant to the sideboard of games.
Yeah, interesting. He must have just cut a ton of removal in his sweepers, really, to try to take a more aggressive approach.
Kurt going to cast Hero's Downfall there. And now Ashiok off the top of the deck. We'll turn over 3 cards, Grindclock among them. Alex with a Hero's Downfall and Grip and a Disdainful Stroke as well. But he will just untap and draw.
And it takes a long time for Prognostic Sphinx to work down Ashiok.
Yeah. Ashiok's loyalty raises by 2. Sphinx is hitting it for 3, so it does take quite a bit of time and quite a few attacks.
And every piece of spot removal, you know, gets you back to parity. Or better than parity, actually.
Yeah.
You're +1 at that point.
Hero's Downfall will take care of Ashiok. Kurt not even willing to fight over that, even though he has a negate in his hand. Here's the attack. We'll Scry 3. All those cards going to go to the bottom. Majlaton, no interest in those. And now he will play Tassiger, so a lot of creatures in his deck after sideboard.
Yeah, he's gone just full beatdowns here. Part of that is because, you know, he doesn't want a bunch of removal in his own deck. Part of that is anticipating that Kurt has removed a lot of his own removal. And it looks like, you know, Alex has a really good shot of winning this game. And if that occurs, I'm interested to see if Kurt sideboards way differently, and then if Alex sideboards way differently, anticipating that Kurt has done the same thing.
Disdainful Stroke is countered by negate, so Prognostic Sphinx is in here for Kurt. However, Alex has a 4/5 Tassiger that's in play, and it's also a card drawing engine as well, so things do get a little bit more interesting now, where these Sphinxes, I imagine, will stare at each other a little bit.
Alex still has the opportunity to just attack with both creatures, because the Sphinx isn't eating anything.
Yeah.
But you're right that this Tassiger, now that the board is stalled out, is a big problem for Kurt. If he can't kill it, the card advantage is going to kill him if the 4/5 doesn't.
And Alex is going to attack with both creatures, as you mentioned. Can't kill either one, so a relatively safe attack here.
Ooh, and Tassiger Prognostic Sphinx is a combo.
Ever heard of it? Didn't think we'd be dialing that one up this weekend.
So much good stuff going on here.
2 good deals.
2 good deals.
Tasker will go active. So you turn over a land and negate. Now, let's pick any card.
And Kurt might actually have to give him Jace's ingenuity here because everything else is too efficient. And Alex's hand is tied. If he gets a counterspell, then he can just spend his mana using Tasker anyway. So that is not great for Kurt in a number of respects.
Yeah, ingenuity, the card that was given to Majlaton. The draw looks to be a dismal backwater here for Spiess. And Spiess can't afford to attack, it seems. I suppose he can because he can go up to 8.
Yeah.
Ooh, now top card, a copy of Crux of Fate. Hello. That might change some things. He'll play the backwater, go up to 8, which means he can survive.
Well, the problem is that most likely Alex can navigate this scry in such a fashion that Kurt is forced to give him a counterspell.
Sure.
Depending on what the top 3 is, maybe it's not a complete lock, but I think it's likely Alex can maneuver the top of his deck in such a way to ensure that he gets either negate or disdainful stroke.
Attack time. Little scry action. Yeah, P is basically there. Disdainful stroke on a land.
Yeah, so he has the setup.
There's a dismal backwater there from Majlaton. Spiess going to go down to 1. Majlaton will go up a little bit to 14. Kurt will draw. He'll get in. Little scry here. Hoping his Crux of Fate will resolve, but as long as Majlaton does sequence things appropriately, he should be just fine. And there is Crux of Fate. And now here's a Tasker activation. Turn over 2 cards. Your options are counterspells or counterspells, and Kurt will concede the game. Alex Majlaton going to win game number 2 here over Kurt Spiess. These two good friends will do battle one more time in the blue-black control mirror.
Alex looked like he had just a much better setup there post-board. I mean, he had a lot of creatures. He has grindclock for a free win, and not that much in terms of dead weight. Kurt's got a lot of removal, and it looked like he still had Perilous Vault in his deck. He's left in Crux of Fate. It looks like there's a lot of uncertainty / hedging on Kurt's side of the table, where Alex has a pretty streamlined game plan.
Well, these two players are going to shuffle up very quickly and get ready for game number 3, so we won't take too long talking about the feature match area here for SCG Live. You can join it today.
Yeah, you can hop into the chat right now, though if you are not a subscriber, you are in slow mode chat, which means you can post once every 2 minutes. If you subscribe for only $4.99 a month, you get access to unlimited posting inside the chat and custom emoticons and badges, as you see in front of you right now.
Myself, Patrick, Matthias, along with our Jetpack Penguin and our Slow Play Turtle. Custom emoticons, we're always taking your ideas for those as well. I want to make sure that your membership to the feature match area is the best it possibly can be. Twitch.tv/SCG Live. We appreciate you guys watching all weekend and every weekend here on the Open Series.
If I was Kurt, I would feel really uncomfortable with how that game played out. Obviously, you're going to lose some games over the course of the tournament. That just happens. But in a fashion where it feels like your opponent just has a much better setup for the mirror match.
I wouldn't be thrilled.
It's not a good feeling.
Temple of Deceit to start here from Ashiok. Blue to Delta on Spiess' side. Spiess' draw looks to be a Liliana. Temple of Deceit is what he'll play now. Leave a land on top. Don't want to miss those land drops in this control mirror. There is an island. Puts you to the test right away with a grindclock.
Yup.
Yeah, forces you to have negate or else.
So there is a Perilous Vault in the list, and not a lot else.
Well, here's an Ashiok. And now this forces Alex to have a copy of Hero's Downfall to get that off of the table. Dissolve the draw. Interesting that these milling effects are the ones that can take over the game.
I was going to say, good old-fashioned millstone race.
Yeah.
This is taking me back to 1995. Played in plenty of these games myself.
And with Ashiok, you kind of have a small window to get it off the table with Hero's Downfall, because now if Kurt has a counter spell, he can just leave his man up the entire time to protect his Ashiok. Grindclock going to tick up. Majlaton going to play a Temple. Take a look at the top card. It'll stay on top. Well, you know Ashiok's just going to keep getting to work. All right, Alex will pass. Ashiok goes up. Bunch of cards get turned over. Here's a Thoughtseize. There's a dissolve. You can see Kurt's hand, his inability to fight back, so Alex will scry. Leaves his card on top very quickly. Grindclock will move up. Majlaton will draw. He did find a copy of Hero's Downfall. That is timely. The question, of course, is when does he want to cast it? On the upkeep or on his own turn?
It's really rough if this doesn't work, so it's got to be timed perfectly.
He's going to go with the upkeep. If Kurt's going to counter, he's going to have to use some mana on his own turn, and he can't get it done. Now, there is a card worth Hero's Downfalling, but a Disdainful Stroke will take care of that. And now Alex is on a clear board with a Grindclock.
At this point, it feels like Kurt has to get to his one Pearl Lake Ancient pronto.
Yep.
And even then, Alex can fend it off with his spot removal spells probably long enough for Grindclock to take it down, especially now with Ashiok as for some double millstone action.
The 1-2 punch. And he's hit a Pearl Lake Ancient and a Prognostic Sphinx. Well then.
I think Kurt may be doomed.
Kurt gonna draw a card. He will play Interpret the Signs.
It's just another millstone.
At this point, if Kurt is drawing cards, Alex is probably pretty happy.
Yeah, I mean, it's blind hit. All right.
Crux of Fate's not bad. That's 5 cards.
It's a lot of milling, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess Kurt's feeling was Dissolve's not good enough here. I need to go big or go home.
Oh, Ugin is going big.
They'll Grindclock.
Yeah, and Ashiok. Not the right time to find that. And I think he can't leave it on top either.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how good it is to put it on the bottom and if he'll be able to get to it again, but leaving it on top is not great. It looks like that's what he's going to do, though. Grindclock can move to 5.
In theory, he could put it to the bottom, polluted delta it back into the deck and draw it.
Sure.
But it's unlikely.
Ashiok will turn over a bunch of cards.
Kurt doesn't even want to draw an Ugin here because it doesn't get the Grindclock off the table.
Yeah.
So it's no help.
I'll call this permanent. Wow, wait.
Yep.
Didn't think that text was going to come up that much in Standard.
Well, we saw it yesterday, unable to handle Nissa tokens.
Yep.
And now Grindclock.
Match not going to sacrifice those deltas. Get some lands out of the deck.
We need to be searching on Gatherer for all the sweet artifacts if Ugin becomes a thing.
It's a strange slant that this matchup has taken as here's a dig through time. Shields are down, so Alex going to take the opportunity to resolve this. Look at 7 cards, take 2 with them. Pearl Lake Ancient among the cards he's looking at. But, we see a lot of mirror matches. You think about the Abzan mid-range match or, Green-Black Constellation, how grindy they are, and Doomwing Giants and Whip activations here. And this one's all about just milling someone out.
Well, there's a lot of cheap mill effects, and these decks are not good at handling it,
Yeah.
There's no needle effect floating around. It's just there. And so Ashiok and especially Grindclock can just run away with it.
Little Thoughtseize action here from Alex. I'll show you 2 Heroes Downfalls. Crux of Fate, Dissolve, Ashiok, couple of lands. Dissolve gonna bite the dust. Gonna send it back Kurt's way. Heroes Downfall gonna go after Ashiok. We'll see if Alex fights over that, and he won't.
I think that even if Alex could fight over that, he wouldn't even bother with it because he can just win the game with the Grindclock at this point.
Alex with his Dissolve in hand, he will use that to get Ashiok off the table. He will scry. Top card becomes the bottom card. Opulent Palace here for Kurt, and quick passing of the turn. Grindclock moved to 6. We'll see what Alex wants to shift gears and maybe start milling Kurt out. Got to find that right math where it's appropriate.
Yep. That's the thing with Grindclock. It is basically just a math equation. It can be a bit fuzzy because people are drawing cards and using sack lands and stuff. But no one ever sits down and does the math. They just stop when it feels right.
Yeah.
And I think Alex is probably going to start milling.
It's Slumgar, the Drifting Death, or as we call him, Drifty D.
Drifty D.
And now we're going to start grinding Kurt out in increments of 6. Drifty D going to come into the red zone here for 3.
And increments of 3. It's a race.
Yeah. It's important to have both sides covered.
Right.
And now old Murky's here, the Merc Lurker.
Just a really perplexing squad on Alex's side of the table.
Is there any chance we can get an Infect creature out here?
Dragon, Leech, Grindclock.
Here's Crux of Fate.
Oh, but Alex has the different split.
Yeah, yes, he sure does. Kurt will be grinded again for
That
6
is
cards here.
awesome.
The flavor really coming into it there.
Dude, diversify your assets a little bit.
That's true.
One dragon, one leech. Crux Fate loses a lot of its impact.
Alex not willing to lifelink his Merc Lurker, just come into the red zone with it.
This has been a really great tournament to cover.
It really has. It really has. We've seen some things that I did not think we were going to see.
Yeah.
That's for sure. From grind clocks to Teamer Ascendancy to who knows what in the upcoming rounds. Some crazy things have happened.
Fire Drinker Satyr beatdowns.
Oh, well, you love that.
Yeah, I do.
Alex going to take a look to see how many cards Kurt has left, how many grind clock activations is going to take in combination with draw steps here to get the job done. He'll turn over 6 more. Cranial Archive, one of the cards that gets turned over here. Maybe Kurt's only out in the situation. Here comes old Murky. And a passing of the turn. Spiess will draw. Dig through time among the options. So it's time to delve. And we'll get to look at the top 7, maybe. Alex is deciding if he wants to grind clock or not just yet. And he will. So he had 11 cards before the activation, only 5 left. Kurt will get to look at those 5. See a Perilous Vault, an Ashiok, Disdainful Stroke, a Dissolve, and an Island. He gets to take 2 of those with him.
Yeah, but that's not out to a grind clock activation next turn.
Is not. Alex Majlaton's going to win this match here over Kurt Spiess. 2 games to 1. Blue-black control mirror goes to Alex, and truthfully, looks like he was better set up for it.
Yeah, his deck seemed awesome post-board. He had a lot of I win the game effects, especially the grind clock. He had a lot of ways to interact, a lot of cheap stuff. I mean, it just seemed like a much better setup than what Kurt had.
Also able to go beatdowns a little bit too, had more creatures, because he does have a lot of removal, but to be fair, both players have a lot of removal in their deck for this tournament.
Well, you know, you have the 4 copies of Hero's Downfall, but those are really tax fighting over Ashiok and then other Planeswalkers. And so even though the Merc Lurker is a little bit anemic, Kurt probably isn't going to be able to block it very easily. It has some utility if Kurt has Planeswalkers of his own, and at some point he's got to kill it. Yeah. You know, it's attacking for 2 a turn. You got to stop it at some point. And if it eats a Hero's Downfall or forces Kurt to try to tap out for Crux of Fate, those are all big victories. So I really liked Alex's setup, even though some of the creatures there look like they're for other matchups. Just trying to go beat downs in the blue-black mirror match makes a lot of sense.
Alex Majlaton